Welcome to another edition of Black Knights Weekly. On this week's show, we go one-on-one with head women's tennis coach Paul Peck. We'll also have features on Ryan Powis and Mary Vaccaro. But before we get to that, let's check out what happened last week in Army athletics. Friday afternoon, the swimming and diving teams had their first road meet of the year at Marist. The men's team took home the win, while the women dropped a tough meet to the Red Foxes. Carter Kelly paced the Black Knight men, playing a role in 3 of the team's 10 wins. Matt Joyner and Chris Nguyen also swept both diving events during the meet. Senior Paige Brink picked up 2 wins and 2 runner-up finishes on the women's side. It was a rainy day at the West Point Golf Course for the annual cross-country star meet between Army and Navy. The Mids would come out on top in both the men's and women's races. Senior Barrett Lahardy again led the Black Knights on the men's side with a 4th-place finish. Sophomore Liz O'Donnell came across the finish line in 3rd, with teammates Chelsea Prawl and Marcy Nort finishing 4th and 5th, respectively. The Sprint football team improved to 3-1 overall thanks to a 41-16 win over Cornell Friday night. The Big Red took an early 10-0 lead before the Black Knights started their comeback. Javier Sesteta threw for 277 yards and 3 scores. Receiver Tom Jeffers hauled in 2 of those TD passes to go with his 136 yards receiving. The Army defense chipped in 5 sacks in the win. It was another big weekend for the volleyball team, starting with a road match at Bucknell Friday night. Sophomore Margot Jarka led the Black Knights with 10 kills as they swept the Bison 3-0. The next night, the Black Knights were in Hamilton, New York, taking on Colgate. After winning the opening set, the Raiders would win the next 2, but Army dominated the 4th set, winning 25-14 before taking the 5th set to seal the win. Megan Wilton led the way with 19 kills, while Jarka and Ariana Mankis each had 18. Back at West Point, the hockey team hosted the Huskies of Yukon. The Black Knights debuted new gray jerseys, but the visitors would come out on top. 24 hours later, the Black Knights were on the road at 13th-ranked Merrimack. Andy Starshevsky and Mike Henderson scored their first goals of the season, but Merrimack would hold on for the 3-2 win. Freshman Rob Tadazak made 37 saves in his first career start. The men's soccer team was also on the road, starting Saturday at Colgate. Josh Kopey would tie the match at 1 in the 49th minute. In the 86th minute, Kopey would find David Rouleau, who forced overtime, but the Raiders would come away with the game winner in the extra session. Wednesday night saw more last-minute heroics as the men's soccer team took on 19th-ranked Iona. In the 86th minute, Michael Kim buried his first goal of the season, forcing overtime. But midway through the first OT, Iona would get the game winner. The women's soccer team was also in action on the road at Lehigh. Erin Helbling had the best scoring chance of the match early in the second half, but neither side could find the back of the net as the match ended in a tie. The Army golf team continued their fall schedule, taking part in the Bank of Tennessee Intercollegiate. William Park led Army with a 54-hole total of 239 and finished tied for 68th. 2 men's tennis players led the Black Knights at the ITA Regional Championship. Asika Iso and Henry Jang Milston reached the round of 16 in the doubles bracket, finishing with a record of 2-1. Iso earned a bye in the first round of the singles bracket before falling in the round of 32. Coming up after this break, Rich DeMarco goes one-on-one with head women's tennis coach Paul Peck. We'll be right back.
This is Scott Swanson, Director of Strength Conditioning, with our SurgeX Training Tip of the Week. These are 5 strength training principles that you can utilize every day in the weight room. 1. Get full range of motion on your exercises. 2. During your strength movements, allow the muscles to raise and lower the weight. 3. Emphasize that lowering of the weight. You're 40% stronger in that movement. 4. Momentary muscular failure has been reached when the athlete can no longer properly raise a good repetition. And 5. Proper supervision. Make sure your spotter is there to help motivate you.
Rich DeMarco back on Black Knights Weekly. Time now to go one-on-one with Army women's tennis coach Paul Peck. In his 18th year, the Black Knights winners of 7 straight Patriot League championships. And Paul, thanks for a few minutes here on Black Knights Weekly.
Oh, my pleasure.
18 years here at West Point. You've built a dominant program in the Patriot League. It must be a lot of pride you have coaching here at West Point and with the success that you've had.
Well, you know, I enjoy coaching here because of the kind of kids that we get. And I really couldn't see myself coaching anywhere else. They come in here, they're motivated, you know, they're bright, and you know it's fun to work with them because the best part of their day is playing tennis. So you know it's a lot of fun to work with them.
You come here 18 years ago, as you mentioned, 1994. What did you know about West Point? How did you look at the program? How did you go about building it to the point at which it's at now?
Well, it's funny because I played tennis in the juniors, and I tried playing in college, and I actually got cut from my college tennis team, but I kept playing the game, and I played on the All-Army tennis team when I was in the Army. And when I first came to West Point, I was assigned here to teach. I was teaching in the Department of Physical Education, and the tennis coach before me was a kid that I knew in the juniors, a guy named Todd Riska. And I ran into him one day, walking down across diagonal walk, and I'm like, oh man, we got to play, let's hit. He's like, hey, I could use your help with the team. You're a good player, and I could really use some help. So I was actually started off as a volunteer coach. I was an officer representative, and I did that for about 6 months, and then Coach Riska left to take another position. And at that time, the head coaches for the smaller sports were in the Department of Physical Education. So I was asked by the Master of the Sword, Colonel Anderson at the time, and Colonel Vanderbush, the head of the athletic department, if I would be the interim coach. So I did that for 2.5 years. And when I was getting ready to PCS out and go on to my next military assignment, they pulled me aside and said, hey, we're getting ready to build this great indoor tennis center. You're doing a good job with the program. Would you consider staying here and being a civilian coach? So, at that time for my family, I thought it would be the best thing to do, and I knew that I loved coaching because there's a lot of parallels between coaching and being an Army officer. And, being a coach is just like being a platoon leader, which is the best job to have in the Army. So it was an easy decision, so I decided to get out.
And you mentioned the way you, in fact, became the head women's tennis coach here at Army. And you and I were talking before we started the interview. You have a history with the military. Your father spent many years in the military, and you actually went into the Army after college, after studying at the University of Illinois.
Right. Well, I kind of wandered around a little bit. My father wanted me to go to an academy when I was a kid, or getting ready to go to college, and at the time, my dad said one thing, I did the other. And when I got out of school and I was working in the private sector, I wasn't really feeling fulfilled. And one of the customers for the company I worked for was a big recruiting station. I started talking, and I decided, hey, this would be great. Join the Army. At the time, I was going to do a 3-year enlistment, and in the state of Illinois, which is where I'm from, grad school would be free if you're a veteran. So that was my initial plan when I came in the Army, and then, at no time did I ever think I'd be here coaching a women's tennis team for 18 years.
7 straight Patriot League championships. What's been the key? What has been the key to this success over the last 7 years?
Well, it's really a team effort. And as obviously recruiting helps. You have to bring in good talent. The facilities are exceptional, so that allows us to train year round. And I think we have a really family environment with the team. When they're out there playing, they're not playing for themselves; they're playing for each other. And I think some of the things that I've learned in some of my leadership experiences and military experiences, and what they're learning here in the classroom, can really carry over onto the tennis courts.
Well, Paul, we appreciate a few minutes. Thanks so much for joining us, and best of luck as you head toward an 8th Patriot League title coming up in the spring.
Well, I'm very superstitious. I got to find some wood to knock on, but thank you.
That's Army women's tennis coach Paul Peck joining us on this edition of Black Knights Weekly. I'm Rich DeMarco. We'll have more of the show coming up in just a moment. Now you can follow West Point and Army athletics through social media like never before. On Facebook, West Point USMA and Army Black Knights. On Twitter, at West Point News and Army Athletics. And on YouTube, the West Point Channel and Army Athletics. Social media, your way to stay connected to West Point and Army Athletics, anywhere at any time.
In recent years, the Patriot League Setter of the Year trophy has found a home here at West Point. This season, an Army freshman is looking to keep the tradition going. It would be easy for Mary Vaccaro to feel pressure to perform once she put on her number 8 jersey. She says her teammates are the ones that helped her adjust to both volleyball and the rigors of plebe year.
The girls are a huge help. The transition from civilian life to cadet life is a total 180. It's totally different than anything I've ever done before, so I didn't really know what to expect. But having the upperclassmen and having all of our teammates here for me all the time to kind of guide me as a freshman here, it's been awesome that I've had them to count on.
So far, the California kid hasn't disappointed. Vaccaro has been named the Patriot League Rookie of the Week 6 times this season, tying a league record. She also ranks 15th in the country with almost 11.5 assists per set. Even before earning these accolades, Vaccaro says playing Division I volleyball is everything she dreamt it to be.
Playing my first college match was indescribable. It was awesome on so many levels, just to be able to play with Army on my back and representing the U.S. Military Academy was amazing, and then just playing at the college level, which has always been my dream, was just amazing.
Vaccaro admits it did take a while to get used to the Army volleyball system, but junior outside hitter Ariana Mankis says Vaccaro has made the transition seamlessly.
Honestly, it didn't even take a lot of work at all. Like, she adjusted extremely well. She has been delivering since day one. I mean, sometimes, you have to work with the people really constantly, just have to keep pushing them, but that wasn't the case with Mary. She just kind of meshed immediately.
As the Black Knights get ready to start the second half of league play, Vaccaro's passion hasn't diminished one bit. She displays that enthusiasm every time she's on the court.
I can't even describe what it's like out there when things are going well, when things are meshing. The energy is just amazing. When we get a big kill or a big block, it's crazy. Everyone's screaming, hugging each other, and we're ready to go win a bunch of points in a row.
After hearing that description from Vaccaro, it's easy to see why the Gillis Fieldhouse crowd can get pretty rowdy during matches. We'll have more Black Knights Weekly after this.
Join the Army A Club today and support cadet athletes 12 months a year. Members of the A Club receive priority consideration for parking, seat locations, pregame hospitality, as well as Army-Navy tickets. But the benefits don't stop there. The A Club also gives members access to special receptions and events throughout the year. To join, visit the A Club link at goarmysports.com or call 845-938-2322. The Army A Club, supporting cadet athletes.
The Army football team heads into their game against Vanderbilt with the nation's #1 rushing attack. Rich DeMarco has more on the player in the center of it all.
Freshman Ryan Powis has become a young but reliable force along the Army offensive line this season. The center has worked his way into the starting lineup and has been a key cog for the Army rushing game, which ranks #1 in the nation. Powis, a native of Midlothian, Virginia, has had an impressive progression up the depth chart since August and feels a big reason he's been able to adjust to football and cadet life came from his time at the Army Prep School last year.
Personally, football-wise, last year was my first year at center, so I think without moving to center, I don't think I would have had this opportunity. So that really helped a lot. And then along with along as a cadet, working out all the time, that helped. And then just living the life of waking up in the morning, doing the same thing. That kind of translated pretty well to the West Point life here.
Entering preseason camp, it still was a steep adjustment for Powis, who credits Will Wilson and Michael Kime, whom he competed against in fall camp, with helping him improve.
Fortunately, we all kind of worked together. I didn't know the offense that well. Some of the plays were a little different than the prep school. No cards, and everyone helped me out. Will helped me out. Momo helped me out. So everyone kind of worked together, and once it kind of started clicking for me with the plays, the steps. My speed kind of helped me boost in the front lead.
Even with a prep school year under his belt, Powis' transition to Division I football has opened the eyes of head coach Rich Ellerson.
Frankly, I think we're fortunate that he's matured as quickly as he has into that very demanding Division I football game in a line position as a freshman. It's one thing to go out there and play receiver or running back as a freshman. It's a very different thing to play at the heart of the offensive line. Very demanding physically. He speaks well of him both in terms of his physical toughness, but his just overall maturity.
And playing a key part in an offensive line which was critical to Army's success last season and this season is something Powis doesn't try to think too much about.
There was pressure during the camp. I felt like I filled someone's shoes, but then there was no point in trying to think too far ahead. I just needed to do my job because in the camp I don't think I was doing as well as I could, and I was kind of getting a little ahead of myself with things. And so once I kind of stepped back and just kind of relaxed, and I kind of fit into my own, I made my own print, and that helped a lot, just kind of calm myself.
Army's success running the football in 2011 truly has been a team effort, but a key piece has been a newcomer, freshman center Ryan Powis. For Black Knights Weekly, I'm Rich DeMarco.
Kickoff from Nashville is at 7 p.m. We'll have this week's weekend preview coming up after this short timeout.
Army fans, there's no better place to be before a West Point football game than Black Knights Alley. Open 3 hours before kickoff, come out and avoid the traffic crunch. Black Knights Alley features fun for the whole family. From the Black Knight Walk, to face painting and autographs with Army athletics teams and mascots, to live music, food and beverages, inflatable games, interactive displays, and the live broadcast of the Army Football Tailgate Show. There literally is something for everyone. So make a day of it. That's Black Knights Alley, 3 hours before every Army home game along Mills Road. Army football, more than just a game.
Last but certainly not least, it's this week's weekend preview. The Star is on the line Friday night for the women's soccer team when they take on Navy in Annapolis. On Sunday, the Black Knights will take on American University. Head coach Stephanie Golan says the annual matchup with the Mids is always meaningful.
It's just going to be an awesome environment. I think going on the road and playing at Navy is always fun for us. I think they're two programs that have had a lot of success over the years, and it's always a battle. And it doesn't matter what either team has done along the way in the season. You can always count on that game as being a fun one to be a part of. So we're looking forward to an awesome night, and hopefully come back here with a W.
The volleyball team will look to stay atop the Patriot League after taking on Lafayette and Lehigh this weekend. Head coach Alma Cavacci says her team is excited to start the second half of their league schedule.
First half of the season, we really focused a lot on individual play, making sure that our statistics were there, and making sure that, like in defense, players are in position. Well, now it's a step above that. Now we're focusing on the team. The individual performances were great. Now we got to keep those in mind, but we got to go a step above that and make sure that we're performing in defense, and we're performing as a team.
The Sprint football team kicks off their season-ending 3-game homestand against Post University Friday night. Head coach Lieutenant Colonel Mark West says this first showdown with the Eagles will be a tough test.
Post is probably the most athletic team in the league. They've got a lot of raw talent. It's a new program to the league. A lot of youngsters on the team who are just anxious and excited to get the opportunity to play collegiate football. So we know they're going to come in with a lot of emotion. It's their first trip to West Point, and I know they want to make a good showing. They've had kind of a roller coaster year. They've had some great games and some games where I know they wish they played better. So, we're going to be hopefully at the top of our game, ready to go.
It's the final tournament of the fall for the women's tennis team as they take part in the ITA East Regional Championships. Here's head coach Paul Peck previewing the competition.
What happens is the best players in the East are selected by a committee to play in this tournament. So we were fortunate enough to have 4 of our singles players and 2 of our doubles teams get in and be selected. So we're going to leave. The competition starts this Friday. It'll be at Yale. It'll be the top players in the East, so it's a great competition.
It's a matchup of 2 unbeaten rifle teams when Army squares off with second-ranked West Virginia Saturday morning. Head coach Major Ron Wigger says his 6th-ranked Black Knights are excited to take on the Mountaineers.
My expectation is that they look at that as an opportunity to excel and to strengthen their mental game, and realize that they tie their shoes the same way we tie our shoes, and go in there and give it their best shot, and not be so much in awe of them, but feel like that we're on, we're a solid program and we can compete with these guys.
Crandall Pool will again be buzzing with action as the swimming and diving teams welcome UMass to West Point. Head coach Mickey Wender says Saturday's meet will be special in more ways than one.
A lot of fun, exciting racing, a spirited day. It's our pink meet, so we're in pink hats for breast cancer awareness, and our team's excited. I love what UMass brings in terms of their energy and their excitement and their they're gamers. They come ready to play.
After a bye week, the football team returns to the field on the road at Vanderbilt. Even though the Commodores have dropped their last 3 games, head coach Rich Ellerson says they are a solid team.
They came out the gate really strong this year. They've struggled the last couple of weeks to get a win, but they've played really good competition. They played very well. They're explosive. do all kinds of things on offense. They were explosive last week, particularly in the kicking game. They blocked a kick, they faked a kick, they returned a kick for a touchdown. They do all the things that make you crazy in the special teams area. Defensively, they've battled everybody to a standstill.
It's back to Patriot League play for the men's soccer team when they host Bucknell Saturday night. Head coach Russell Payne says his players know what they have to do to be successful.
We're extremely pleased. I mean, as a staff, we work really hard on putting the guys in situations throughout training to make sure that they are ready and they're not surprised, and their awareness is there to take those opportunities when they come. So, you know, it's good to see that. But like you said, you got to take care of it on both ends, and that's what we're looking forward to doing this weekend.
For the second year in a row, the hockey team will take part in the Cape Cod Classic. The Black Knights will face off against nationally ranked Colgate. Head coach Brian Riley says his team has two things they need to excel at against the Raiders.
Number one, we got to figure out a way to score some goals. 3 games, I think 3 goals, that certainly puts a lot of pressure on you defensively. It puts a lot of pressure on your goalies. And then the other thing is team defense. I mean, we've usually been pretty strong with that, but we kind of got off to a rough start our first couple games. So we've been working on some things in practice with that, and hopefully we can take a step in both those areas.
So that puts a wrap on this week's Black Knights Weekly. We hope you enjoyed watching the show, and we'll see you next week. So long, everybody.